In this lecture video, we'll talk about generalization and inheritance and how we denote the same using UML notations. Just to revise what generalization is. Generalization is a relationship between a class called the superclass or the base class or the parent class and one or more variations of this class called subclasses or derived classes or child classes. Generalization organizes classes by their similarities and differences, structuring the description of objects. The superclass will hold all common attributes, operations, associations, whereas the subclass will add specific attributes, operations, and associations. Each subclass is said to inherit the features of its superclass. Generalization is sometimes also called the is-a relationship because each instance of a subclass is an instance of the subclass as well. Simple generalization organizes classes into a hierarchy such that each subclass or derived class or child class has only a single immediate superclass. You can have a more complex form of generalization in which a subclass can have or can inherit from multiple immediate superclasses. There can be multiple levels of generalizations. That is, you can draw a tree structure of this hierarchy. Let's take a look at this figure, which shows several examples of generalization for equipment. Each piece of the equipment is a pump, heat exchanger, or a tank. There are several kinds of pumps. Pumps could be centrifugal pump, a diaphragm pump, or a plunger pump. There are several kinds of tanks, which could be spherical, pressurized, and floating roof. The fact that the tank generalization symbol is drawn below the pump generalization symbol is not significant. This is just to adjust placement or give it a good structure and make it look more appealing visually. Several objects are demonstrated or displayed at the bottom of the diagram. We'll get to each of these components in a short time. A large hollow arrowhead here, as shown here, denotes generalization. The arrowhead always points to the superclass. You may directly connect the superclass to each subclass. Suppose this now the equipment has three subclasses. You may connect each of them individually, but we prefer to group subclasses as a tree and point one arrowhead to the superclass. The curly braces here denote a UML comment. In this case, it indicates that there are additional subclasses that the diagram does not show. Generalization is transitive across an arbitrary number of levels. So here you have the top level, the first level, the second level, and so on. Both of these are in the second level. So you can have multiple levels of hierarchy. It need not stop at one level. Here there are two levels of hierarchy, or including the root node, there are three levels of hierarchy. If I say level 1, level 2, and level 3. The terms ancestor and descendant refer to generalization of classes across these multiple levels. So if I take this level, level 1 and level 0 become ancestors of this level, not just the immediate level, but all levels on top. If I take this level, level 2 and level 3 become the descendants of this level. So not just this level is the descendant of the equipment, but even the lowermost level, all of them can be termed as descendants. Everything that is below a particular level can be called as descendants. An instance includes a value for every attribute of every ancestor class. An instance can invoke any operation on any ancestor class. Each subclass not only inherits all the features of its ancestors, but can add its own specific features as well. So let me explain these concepts, what I just told, using this diagram. So at the top node, you have equipment. This is a class. As you can see the class diagram notation, it has 1, 2, 3, 4 attributes, that is name, manufacturer, weight, and cost. You can see the equipment has immediately 3 subclasses at its immediate level. One is the pump, heat exchanger, and tank. So pump has its own set of attributes: suction pressure, discharge pressure, and flow rate, but it also inherits these 4 attributes from its immediate parent class. Same thing with heat exchanger. It has 5 of its own defined attributes which are specific to heat exchanger. You can see these attributes are not shown here because they are very specific to this heat exchanger class, but also the heat exchanger class will inherit all these 4 attributes from the equipment class. Let's go to the tank class. It has 2 specific attributes, volume and pressure, unique to the tank class, but it also inherits name, manufacturer, weight, and cost from the equipment class. Let's go one level below. The pump class again has centrifugal pump, diaphragm pump, and plunger pump. So you can see that these 3 are immediate subclasses of the pump class and not immediate subclasses of the equipment class. Understand that for centrifugal pump, its ancestors include pump as well as equipment. For plunger pump, the attributes its ancestors include pump and equipment as well, but its ancestors will not include heat exchange, just the immediate parent and the parent above or the ancestor above. So centrifugal pump will have these 3 attributes which are very specific to centrifugal pump, but make a note that this class will inherit all the attributes here by default and also inherit all the attributes of the equipment class. So you should know that given any class, it inherits all the attributes and operations from all of its ancestors. Let's go to tank. Tank is further having 3 immediate subclasses: spherical tank with attribute diameter, pressurized tank with specific attribute diameter and height, floating roof tank with specific attribute diameter and height. Now, suppose I take pressurized tank class. It inherits volume and pressure from tank and also inherits name, manufacturer, weight, and cost. So given this class, it will inherit the attributes and operations of all the classes in its ancestral line. Okay, so this is about the class diagram. I hope this notation is clear. And whenever you have generalization and inheritance to be specified, always use a hollow arrowhead with the arrow pointing towards the parent class. Now let's take a look at objects that I have created. So the first object, the name, see the object diagram, you have to first write the ID or the name of the object. So P101 colon followed by the class for which you're creating the object. So I am creating P101 as an object for the diaphragm class. So you can see, check out these attributes. So diaphragm class will inherit attributes from pump and will inherit attributes from equipment. That's why you have name, manufacturer, weight, and cost inherited from the equipment class. You have suction pressure, discharge pressure, and flow rate inherited from the pump class. And you have the diaphragm material, which is very specific to the diaphragm class. Same thing is illustrated for a heat exchanger object, which will have these attributes as well as these attributes. And then if you're creating an object for the floating roof tank class, you will have these attributes, you'll have these attributes as well as these attributes. Let's take another example which shows classes of geometric figures. So here you can see you have the figure class at the root, and you have 3 classes here which are the direct subclasses of the figure class. And within the 0-dimensional class you have 1 class. Within 1-dimensional you have again 3 subclasses. Within 2-dimensional you have again 2 more subclasses. So here the figure has an association with another class called diagram. 1 is to many. That is, a diagram can be depicted using multiple figures, and multiple figures can represent one diagram. You do not have to worry about that. Only this figure class has inheritance and generalization. So here you can see the dimensionality attribute or notation here is called as, this term is called as a generalization set name. Generalization set name is nothing but an enumerated attributes that indicates which aspect of an object is being abstracted. So you can see all these three subclasses talk about dimensions, right? One dimension, zero dimension, two dimension, and so on. So this one, when you have such things which are same, so you can just put a generalization set name here across this arrow to show that the rest of the all these subclasses talk about dimensionality. Some kind of abstraction is provided here. So the purpose of generalization are three to note, three important purposes. First one is polymorphism, where you can call an operation at the superclass level and your compiler will automatically resolve the call to the method that is matching to the calling object's class, where the same operation can be implemented in different way as long as you maintain the methods or the operation signature. The second purpose is to structure the description of objects. So when you use generalization, you're making a conceptual statement, you're forming a taxonomy, or you're organizing objects as we already saw based on their similarities and differences using a tree structure. So that is another purpose of using generalization. And the third most important purpose is reusability of code. So you can inherit all the code. So all common code is put in the parent classes and you can inherit or reuse the code rather than writing everything from scratch. So the words generalization derive from the fact that the superclass generalizes or has all the common information that is common to all subclasses, and specialization refers to the fact that subclasses can have their specific attributes or behaviors. Inheritance is the mechanism for sharing attributes, operations, and association via this generalization and specialization among different classes. We'll also take a look at overriding features. So a subclass may override a superclass feature by defining a feature with the same name. The overriding feature, that is the subclass feature, will refine and replace the overridden feature, which is the superclass feature. So take a look at this diagram. Here, if you see, there is a display routine or a display method. So if you consider the circle class, it will inherit from two-dimensional class. Also, it will inherit from the figure class. If you can see, the figure class also has a display method. So by default, all this will be inherited by two-dimensional and by circle. But you can see circle wants to use its own display method. So this is the overriding feature. That means when there is a method which is defined in the parent as well as the subclass, always the method defined in the subclass will be executed. So this is called as the overriding feature or method, as it will override this method. So when you have both implementation, what will be implemented is what is there in the the most specific part of the tree. So if you're talking about circle, you can see display is here in the topmost parent level. Also display is there within the circle itself. So this will be overridden or ignored, and this display method will be used. Similarly to polygon, you have a specific display class here. So it will override this or ignore this and implement this. So this is called as overriding method, and this will be called as the overridden method. So this is about generalization and inheritance.